what are your thoughts about this move?
Alan, first of all, I'm just so happy for Keyshawn that he's an alum, a famous alum, I might add, of a football program that's suddenly relevant again. Congratulations, Key. It's been a long time. We've missed seeing you on the national scene. This is such a significant move because the Pac-12, unfortunately, was just simply drifting off toward Hawaii as an eyesore. And with this one move yesterday, the Southern Cal is right back in the money. I think they are eventually going to be anyway because of what Lincoln Riley is doing, but they were always going to be held back by an inferior league that has all these attributes that just simply don't work very well. In the Big Ten, they're back on Broadway, and it is. We said a year ago that the Oklahoma-Texas move was maybe one of the most dramatic moves in the history of college football. This may be more important because it locks down one of the most valuable media markets in the country in LA with its two prime schools, and it moves east. And what it really does also, guys, is it makes the Big 12 and the ACC, and of course the Pac-12 also runs behind the Big Ten and the SEC. So I think what we have now is we have the battle that we see on Wall Street all the time. This is Coke and Pepsi. This is Miller versus Budweiser, and quite frankly, nobody else matters, guys. I mean, that's where we are, and we still don't know about maybe the biggest chip on the board that remains, and that's Notre Dame. What do they end up doing? They have this weird affiliation right now with the ACC. They play 5 conference games. They're in the league for everything else. But do they really want to be part of the ACC? And one more thing before I listen to the one and only Keyshawn Johnson. If Notre Dame doesn't go to the ACC, then watch out, because if you're Clemson, you want no part of that place any longer.
Paul, how did these two teams just strengthen the Big Ten Conference as a whole, though? Because when you talk about the Ohio States, that's pretty much it, right? Michigan got back there again this year. Michigan State is teetering along. Wisconsin's always winning 8-9 games, but nothing more than that a year. How does this strengthen that conference?
Yeah, there are a couple of people in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, calling you too right now. Here's how they strengthen it, Keyshawn. Without Southern Cal, the Big Ten, as it's currently negotiating a new media rights deal, paled in comparison to the SEC. With Southern Cal, and that, let's be honest, this isn't about UCLA. I mean, wonderful campus, love their tradition. But we've all been to football games at the Rose Bowl with UCLA, and you can have your own section to yourself if you would like. But this is about bringing the Trojans. I mean, I don't need to preach to the choir here that in the pantheon of college football, USC is one of those 2 or 3 most important programs in its history, and it can be again. Now, if this was a year ago with Helton there, I would be shaking my head. But they have one of the brightest coaches in the country. They have a top 5 coach in Lincoln Riley. They're recruiting with abandonment, and I think this helps them. And it helps the Big Ten at the most critical moment, and that's when this deal is going on right now. There are a lot of rumors, guys, that just like there were a year ago when everybody claimed ESPN was behind the curtain with the SEC deal, most people in the industry are saying Fox is behind the curtain here. Doesn't matter to me. It just makes college football more interesting now that the Big Ten has come back up. I mean, you can debate because we don't know how this is going to end. It would still seem logical that as long as Nick Saban's at Alabama, the SEC may be a little bit ahead of everyone else. But the Big Ten is in the game now, and without this move, they really weren't.
Look, Paul, you made reference to the ACC a minute ago. Could Clemson be looking? I guess it would be Clemson, the top team out of the ACC as of right now. Yeah. But could they be kind of looking and saying, you know what, we got to get out of here because this thing's getting ready to crumble?
Yes. Well, when you look at projections, and that's all we're doing here, and I feel funny on a television network talking about television dollars, but I will. If you go 4 or 5 years ahead when the new ESPN SEC deal goes into effect, it's not into effect yet. when the new deal with the Big Ten, presumably with Fox, ESPN's in there, Apple today is reportedly in there. You're going to be doling out somewhere between $100 and $125 million a year to every one of those teams in the SEC and the Big Ten. The ACC is, if it's lucky, it's going to be about 45 to 50 million because there's a cap on those deals. The ACC has a deal with ESPN right now that runs through, I think, 2034. You can't change that probably unless Notre Dame jumped into the league. And I'm not sure how much that would even change because Notre Dame's got the NBC affiliation. So these are game changers. And Dabo Swinney, who's got the best program in that league, is going to get squeezed out. We don't know where the CFP is going right now. You have to think that's going to be back on the table. But there's so much in flux. But I think you're always going to see a lot of movement right now, as you guys know. Oregon and Washington reportedly are looking to the Big Ten as well. They add a lot of value. They're not. Nobody's USC. Let's be honest. But they're good. And it leaves the Pac-12 with virtually nothing. Keyshawn, you tell me. You want to get the family and go watch Cal and Stanford play this weekend? I don't. I don't. Ultimately, So ultimately, you have. You have the AC. You have Clemson, which I think is the one to keep your eye on. And after Clemson, I know a lot of people would think naturally Miami or Florida State, but people in the industry say that North Carolina is probably the most valuable brand after Clemson. And I think Miami would be next now that Mario Cristobal is there.
Yeah, and I'm not even really looking at it from a football standpoint as much as I am, Paul, from all the athletics as a whole, Alan. I think when you talk about basketball, certainly for Arizona, for USC, UCLA, that Oregon, that fits, no question about it, in the Big Ten. But that travel and that cold weather, these West Coast teams going to the Midwest in the month of October, November, what is that going to say?
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.